Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a pleasure for me to welcome you today for this roundtable on Assistive Technology Hub. Uh, I'm so happy that you managed to take time out of your very busy schedules and be with us today. I'm Pradeep Gupta. The hat that I'm wearing right now is that I'm the non-executive chair of NCPEDP. NCPEDP, of course, is an organization that the sector is very familiar with and works in terms of advocacy for the disabled in India. Uh, Thank you very much for taking time out to be here for this evening, because I think this is an issue which is very, very close to my heart. It is very dear to my heart that India needs an assistive technology hub. And right now, there have been siloed efforts that have been there in different places, but there is need to create an assistive technology hub in India where things can be done in a manner where the true ecosystem can be created as far as disability related technologies are concerned. Now, I think all of us understand that assistive technologies can actually play a tremendous role in terms of integrating the people who are deprived of a number of different options. So you have, for example, text to speech and video to text and all varieties of technologies which are available today. Uh, and therefore, it is possible for us to play a transformational role as far as this particular sector is concerned. Uh, Obviously, for all of that to happen, and by the way, there have been a number of different efforts that have been there. Professor Rao did the Smart Cane project. We have, of course, from IIT Madras, you were on the Neo Motion wheelchair, which was a product which came out of IIT Delhi, IIT Madras, and so on. So there have been number of different kind of efforts that have been going on for the disabled. Jaipur Fort is yet another long example of an intervention which made a lot of difference. Uh, but there is a need, as I said, to collectively look at it, in terms of, let's say, the investors. The investors today do not really look at assistive technology as an area that they should actively look at. And I would say one of the reasons why they should actually look at this area is because it's also a very large market. It has the potential of being a very, very large market because if you look at the numbers that are there are, and we will be sharing some numbers as we go along. It's a sizable market, and therefore the marketing opportunity is there. A number of technologies today are dual use technologies. So whatever is applicable for the disabled can also be utilized by senior citizens, right? So you have number of dual use technologies also and solutions that are available, and you will hear more about those also as we go along. Uh, and so we started talking about setting up this hub, and I'm very, very happy that a number of people came to support this. Uh, First and foremost, I would like to thank STPI. The DG and the director STPI, both of them had to go for a meeting in the ministry. They will be joining us. So we will just wait for them to come back here, but we will start our entire discussion. So STPI said that yes, one of the center of excellences can be on assistive technology. There are 24 of STPI incubators that already exist in India, and therefore they came to support this. Deepa is there from Mphasis, and they decided to support us. Even before the physical hub was there, they came forward and they said that why don't you look at investing in some startups. So actually, 16 startups in assistive technology have been supported. They are currently being mentored, but this is virtual mentoring that is going on. And another 9 have been selected. And these 9 also over the next 6 months, uh, they will also be mentored and so on. But the pleasant news is that there were 25 startups that were working on assistive technologies. So a thing which probably the investor community is not aware of, right? That there are 25 startups which are working on assistive technology products. So, uh, so STPI came forward. SIDBI said that they would extend support. Of course, as I said, Mphasis is a absolutely key player in doing it. We started having discussions with Triple IT in Prayagraj, and we also had a discussion with IIT uh, in Varanasi. And in one of these two places, the physical hub will actually come up, right? So we are working in that particular direction. So with those opening remarks, may I suggest that we have a quick round of introduction, just a few lines about yourself so that we know who all are on the table. On this table, of course, there are investors, there are some startups also, there are people from the sector, there are people from the academic community. So we have tried to put together a good range of people who can represent the sector. So perhaps we could start from you, Rajat.
Thank you. My name is Rajat Tandon. I am responsible for running IVCA, which is the Venture and Alternate Capital Association. It's basically an association where all fund managers are members of the association. They are not-for-profit association, but the whole aim is to grow the ecosystem, how we can get more investments into the country, how our investors within India can actually start investing into this asset class, and also areas which require investments, our technology or certain spaces like this. So we've taken up multiple responsibilities, whether it's on climate, whether it's on ESG, whether it's on impact, renewables. And again, I think it was nice that PG had invited us in Bangalore as well. So now I'm glad we are here with some of our members to see how we can make a difference. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Shreya Mittal and I'm an investment associate at a fund called Valuable. From the point of view of this discussion, I think we're extremely uniquely positioned as we happen to be managed by globally one of the only severely sighted fund managers called Rahul. I also believe that a strong part of our thesis is inclusion. When we think of inclusion, we think of it beyond just gender. We place a lot of emphasis on disability inclusion in assistive technology. And I'm very excited to be a part of this conversation as I think that if all of us, we work collaboratively, we can work towards unlocking the potential of a potential 20% untapped population globally. So very glad to be here.
Hi, I'm Sumit. I'm from Management Capital. I lead early stage investments there. Uh, we believe that with the current state of AI and robotics and how it's happening, there's a huge potential. There's a huge untapped potential in what we are trying to build. There's a lot of automation that can be built in, and as you rightly said, there's a lot of dual usage case that kind of comforts the investors as well. So that's something that we're still looking at, and really happy to that with startups as to what they are building in this particular space, how they see that growing and getting adopted also at a larger scale, both from an education perspective and also from the perspective of how easily can a particular solution be deployed, so that it can get adopted. Because what we've seen is that, I mean, a lot of solutions are very innovative in nature, but the deployment takes so much time and so much capital that it doesn't get adopted. There has to be that intersection across so that
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is P.V. Madhusudan Rao. I am a faculty at IIT Delhi. So we are in the space of assistive technology for now almost 2 decades. Initial years actually went on to identify unmet needs, particularly for people with visual disability, and then building assistive technologies, particularly in mobility and education. And for last 4 years now, We also house a National Center for Assistive Health Technologies funded by ICMR. So this actually gives us a larger ecosystem, not only just look at the product development, but all aspects in terms of training, policies, awareness programs, and capacity building programs, etc. So that's our area.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Manish Diwan. I represent BIRAC. Uh, BIRAC nurtures the ecosystem for entrepreneurship across the country. One of the mandate is the healthcare sector. Within that, assistive technology is two bigger. And we support the entire system in terms of funding directly to the entrepreneurs and startups, as well as we have set up an 95 incubation centers for 24 states. And a lot of startups do engage and reply. You maybe more than that, what you said, there are startups in specific technology. We ran one program with Mphasis was part of it. Social Alpha is also part of it. We have to learn maybe from other.
Hi everyone, I'm Aparna. I'm a partner at the Blended Finance company. Really glad to that talking about bringing more the capital. So yeah, wearing that hat today in that discussion at the name of our company, we mobilize philanthropy as well as commercial capital.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Prashant Ranjan Verma. I am a digital accessibility and assistive technology specialist. I am associated with the International DAISY Consortium and UN Office of Information Communication Technology. I'm also General Secretary of National Association for the Blind.
Hi everyone, my name is Divya, working as Communications Officer from Media.
Hi everyone, I'm Asifa. I work with NCPEDP. Hello everyone, I'm Bhargavi. I'm from Earnest Venture Capital. So we are a deep tech fund. Preferably, like we invest at the seed stage, or pre-series A stage. So we look into health tech startups and all, but we did not invest in this 80 side. So I'm looking forward to know about the startups. But before this, like I'm an alumnus of IIT Bombay, so there, like I've seen people working on this with Sign, which is an incubator at IIT Bombay. So yeah, looking forward to interact with you all.
Hi everyone, this is Aishwarya. I'm a co-founder of Railmaker Innovations. We are into developing products like Spacefelt, which is useful in public accessibility for visually impaired and deaf and hard of hearing. Thank you.
Good evening. This is Dr. Ravinder Singh. I am working with Indian Council of Medical Research. So, my role is to work on 5 P's as suggested by WHO. That is for people, policy, products, personal, and provision. So, we work on all of them. So, to start with, we have a list of essential assistive products called NLEAP, national list. There's around 21 group of products which we have handed over to the Ministry of Health as well as to Niti Aayog, and also a few NCAT centers, as Dr. PVM Rao has already said. In addition to, we are launching tomorrow the training modules for all these ND products, and also awareness and some more actions we'll discuss later. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Dr. Salaj. I work as a scientist at AIMS New Delhi, and we are more towards the incubation and research in the assistive technology for the functionally impaired, not only disability. And we support the startups, external startups, also for the clinical validation part. Also, we incubate them and try to build up more literatures in the ecosystem.
Hi everyone, this is Mayank. Over here I'm representing Ankurit Capital. We are an early stage VC fund, and we're the first fund which is leveraging the digital public infrastructure. So over there we support startups that are building on top of. By profession, I'm a chartered accountant. I'm happy to be a part of this one. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I am Anuj Arora. representing next to a debate. They have a product software which is which enables people to access digital gadgets. So as you can see, I have a disability, but I am able to access all the digital gadgets. And they are looking into different spaces like rehabilitation. They have got the sensor control. So they are looking into different spaces like rehabilitation of patients and into online gaming as well. So looking forward to it. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Anjal Sharma. I'm a PhD candidate at IIT Delhi. I'm here with Professor P.V. Rao, who's my supervisor. So in my research, I'm looking at assistive technology, especially tactile learning for people who are visually impaired. And we also did some part of it as a part of Fulbright scholarship at MIT. So yeah, looking forward to hearing about the ecosystem.
Accessible content as per the universal design for deaf and hard of hearing.
Working as a regional director with STPI in a startup and innovation.
Hi, I'm Akhil. I'm also a part of Startup and Innovation Division, STPI.
Hi everyone, I'm Shraddha and I work for the Parna at the Delhi Finance.
We would request our guests online to please introduce. Deepa Nagraj, ma'am.
Sure. Thank you very much, everybody, and thanks for inviting us. The STPI room looks really full, and I'm really missing being there in person. I'm going to be there a couple of days from now for the NCPEDP Design Awards. Looking forward to that. My apologies for not being there in person. So I'm part of Mphasis, and Mphasis and NCPEDP have been supporting policy advocacy, and right now the most recent project is the assistive technology project. And Pradeep, like you rightly said, Mphasis, considering we're a technology services company, we think that we would be able to bring in not just monetary benefit, that's only one part of it, right? But also our own technology experts to be able to help solve for issues. If we're doing this for global clients, why not do it in the sector in India, which actually has the need for it? Right. So most of the software that we create are digital disability compliant. Right. So when we talk about assistive technology, it's not just for a client or something that we've picked up as a CSR wing. In my day job, I also manage public relations communications for Mphasis. Right? Part of the communications piece as well, every single email that goes out to any employee should have mandatorily voice over text, right? So things like that can become part of our everyday life and not an afterthought. Is what we're striving to achieve. And I'm really thankful to all the startups who are working to create innovative solutions, smarter, better, faster, to be able to solve this. And thanks NCPEDP for bringing this together.
I think I'll go next. I hope I'm audible. Hi, everyone in the room. My name is Raja Singh Bhuji. I represent as a CEO an organization called the Step Up Ventures. When we set up this organization, the thought process was there's a need in the country to support people that come from the underserved and underprivileged backgrounds. As per the definition of Constitution of India, this means anybody and everybody who's a religious minority, SC, ST, OBC, women, and even people who are specially abled and disabled. Now, either you're a founder from this space or you're a founder supporting this space, which is where we created our incubator accelerator, and we have a fund called Mount Moody as well, with some significant investments across both the entities into several medtech companies. I'm so glad to be invited in a forum as such. Thank you to Dr. Salaj and everybody else who's sitting in this room taking this initiative. I couldn't concur more with what Deepa has just mentioned. We as a nation in itself have so many people in the country who can be consumers to assistive tech, and everybody is trying to sell outside the country. And VCs, as a VC, we would like to see solutions which can be made for India with Indian clientele as well. So affordability in assistive tech is also something that needs to be looked at.
Can we go next? We are Kerala Medical Technology Consortium. I hope we are audible.
Yes.
Yeah. So with me is our special officer, Mr. Padma Kumar, who himself has been an entrepreneur in the medical devices medtech area and now leads this initiative by the government of Kerala to promote indigenously developing and manufacturing of medical devices. I am Rohit Philip. I am the senior program consultant for the same program, and we look at AT through the lens of medical devices. So, medical devices being a large area, we look at three specific areas within medical devices, and we've picked up assistive technology as one of the focus areas in the sector for Kerala. Look forward to talking more about this.
Siddharth, co-founder at NeoMotion. We make mobility devices for persons with disabilities. Dipanshi is also at the venue. She represents not only herself as a user but also as a proud user of NeoMotion as well. So anybody wants to know more can also meet Dipanshi there physically as well. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. I am Naina Padki, founder of True Assist. So at True Assist, we develop assistive tech solutions for vehicle, which make vehicle accessible for persons with disability, both using our swivel seats as well as the ramps for the vehicle.
Hi, Honey.
Yes. So I'm founder of Torchit, and we make most innovative and affordable assistive devices. And right now I'm sitting at one of our experience center in Ahmedabad. So like this, we have 22 centers across India and Africa.
Yeah, so I'm Ashish Gupta. I'm from IB Cap Ventures. Ours is a $250 million, 2,100 crore fund. We typically invest from seed to Series A stage across sectors. And currently, we are investing from our third fund. And typically, we write check size from $500,000 to $67 million.
Hi, my name is Taha. I'm from Release Solutions. So basically, we develop assistive devices specifically for wheelchair users. Currently, we are working on a project called Azadi. Previously, it is called Clippies. Now it is called Azadi.
Deepa, may I request you to say a few words, and then after that, I would request Asifa to that we should have a presentation on the sector itself, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Pradeep. Appreciate it. So I don't have any death by PowerPoint moments today. I just thought we'll have this free flowing, and I'll take only a couple of minutes. I won't talk about this for longer. So while in my introduction, we briefly spoke about our association with NCPEDP. The objective of the Assistive Technology Hub is twofold. Firstly, to be able to bring in new investors, newer startups, newer organizations that are looking to solve for a particular challenge. The second objective is actually to be able to bring in all the assistive technologies that are already there, right, onto one single platform. Most times, something may have been solved for in a different way in a different place, and we just don't know it. So this is going to be an aggregative platform. It's almost like I'm going to use the term marketplace quite loosely, where all these technologies come together. My request to you is please do take a look at this, and Asifa will probably share the details of where you can see it, how you can look at all of this. And this becomes then the central matchmaking point, right, of all the technologies that are available. Private equity players, philanthropists, CSR partners like us who want to contribute to that, and most importantly, the beneficiaries who can leverage this. If they have a challenge, they may just not know where to go, and even if they figure out where to go through a Google search or any other search engine that they're using, it may just be unaffordable or not practically customizable for what their requirements are. So this particular platform kind of triangulates everything and brings this together. And this is, of course, going to be a long-term, long-standing platform in which multiple different technologies will hopefully evolve. And even with these roundtables such as this, that all of you are participating in. There may be different conversations that could be interesting when parked for a later time. Do bring that up to the notice of NCPEDP and the others. If these can be applied anywhere, technology is only as good as the way that we are able to apply it. In a world where if you don't call out AI, at least 5 times in any talk, it just doesn't look like you're in it anymore, right? But these are really not AI driven conversation. They're more basic, more rudimentary, but more essential. I'm saying more basic, more rudimentary because this will enable anybody do rudimentary tasks that we probably take for granted, right? If there is an ask of me at the end of this, please talk about this to your peers, to anybody that you know who may benefit from it or who would want to be able to contribute to it. And also, please go and take a look at all what is already available for assistive technologies before having to reinvent the wheel. Thank you.
All right. So I was trying to speak from my National Association for the Blind point of view. So technology makes a big difference to the lives of persons with disabilities. It is only with assistive technology that blind are able to use the computer, the smartphone, the internet, and that is how they are now able to get into different kind of jobs. But then we also see lot of gaps, like some technological gaps as well, and then there are some issues related to affordability of these technologies. Most of them have been developed outside India, like the screen readers, text-to-speech devices, the braille readers as an example. And on one hand, they tend to be expensive, and on the other, many of them are not supporting all kind of Indian languages and scenarios. So, within our community, as an example only, I think the same with other disabilities. Uh, the access to these assistive devices is very limited. Currently, only maybe the big cities and some maybe the tier 1, tier 2 cities only. Uh, Also, there are lack of the training facilities, uh, uh, service facilities for the assistive technologies. So, I mean, like. And then there have been so many startups as well to fill up these gaps. I think they need support actually initially because um, when they start, I think there's a lot of investment required, and only when they have a good product, they can expect a market for their products. Um, uh, so, uh, so I definitely see the need on one hand to develop some new technologies, particularly adapt them to the Indian conditions, and of course make some arrangements for their distribution and also some training and servicing.
Okay, thank you very much. So to begin now I'm formally beginning. Of course, I'm welcoming Director STPI, Subodh Sachan, who's been uh, a huge supporter for this particular initiative, and we hope to soon see the physical hub actually coming into existence in a short while. Um, so let me start the roundtable discussions now. And may I first request two people to speak. Siddharth, uh, NeoMotion, you raise funds, you raised several rounds, you've been on Shark Tank and so on. So would like to understand what are the challenges that you sort of faced, and what are some of the lessons that we could possibly look at here.
Great, sir. I mean, thank you. First of all, just to clarify, we are completely debt funded. We have not raised several rounds, nothing like that. We just have a working capital loan with Indian Bank, and we are able to operate through that. And I think that sort of brings us to that, right? Like, uh, if you go for traditional investments, obviously there is push for returns, etc. And obviously, right, I mean, it's an investment for that. And maybe this is not an industry, maybe with time, but maybe not now, where it can give you like a whatever 50x, 100x in XYZ years. So while we are completely debt funded, definitely, some of our startups here are sort of examples that yes, even without investor funds as such, it can still grow initially. And then yes, definitely with added support, it can be more like a growth trajectory, like a exponential growth trajectory, where you explore other markets, where you explore other countries, etc. But on this topic, what I would say, the challenges that we, and I'm sure other startups also face: access to users. While there is UDID, while there is all this, but access to that data and access for users also towards us, the available assistive technologies is not there. Like, we don't know where are our customers, and our potential customers don't know where the right assistive technology for them is. So hence, I think definitely the need for such AT hubs. For startups like us, it is slightly difficult to set up brick and mortar here and there. So such assistive technology hubs will also help us reach to our potential users across the country and across deep pockets of the country. If you again take, so it brings me to my next challenge. When you take a country like India, where the population is so spread out, uh, having such hubs in more tier 2, tier 3 cities would definitely be will be great, because again, you would have many of these centers in your major metro cities, but having them in more tier 2, tier 3 cities would be beneficial. I think I'll stop with that, but these are some of the challenges, that we reaching to our users and users reaching us. That is the main challenge here. We don't get the same sort of marketing support. I mean, marketing is expensive for us. The user community is niche. So then these become our challenges mainly. Yeah. I think grants, only till setting up your sort of manufacturing, but not necessarily for the sale of units or the sale of products. So in our case, I think close to around 2 to 2.5 crores of grants that we got the support of, and I think across maybe 6, 7 different uh, accounts. So on an average, like say 25 to 30 lakhs of grants from per supporter. But exactly right, it can only help you till prototype. It can help you for testing for maybe 1 or 2 iterations. But then now, at that point of time, now it is a stage where your finished product should be ready, and then you start selling the product, and then the sort of the company runs on its own with the revenue that you're getting through sale of product. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks. Honey from Torchit is there, who also has raised funds and therefore would like to know what were the challenges that you have faced.
Yeah, so I raised the funds from one of the big mentor, I can say. Like, he was our mentor, and then he only invested because he wants to spend more time. So that's why he wants equity, and he gave the investment. And again, I'm happy to share. Last month only, we have raised another small round from Ministry of Electronics and IT, Mighty, and again, our previous investor, as a private investor, he gave the check. And like again, Siddharth rightly mentioned, like we are in need of the user. Like, user should aware about the assisted devices. So the awareness, availability, affordability, and accessibility is one of the key aspect, which that's why we need this kind of centers. And we are trying to open the centers in the NGOs, the local NGOs, who are the beacon of the population come, and awareness happens from that NGO. So Prashant sir speak like NAB Delhi, where Prashant sir has a lot of products in their basement, and like this we have many centers such as Sarthak, Sector 45 in Gurgaon, and apart from that we have many other centers. So these centers give us awareness, availability of assisted devices. which allows us to reach out to the more and more users, and they should aware. And I'm more open for the impact investment kind of thing. Like, we need connections, we need being the founders, we need support from the government. So this is what actually the investors and the mentors are bringing. And uh, of course, if we get a perfect match, we can give a good return to investors as well.
Sure. Okay. Thanks. I would now request four people who have actually worked in this entire area for, they are veterans of this particular sector, who have supported startups in this area one way or the other. And perhaps Manish, you might want to share the experience of some of the early investments that were, or support which was provided by BIRAC. And then Professor Rao, if you can talk about your experience of IIT Delhi. And then Dr. Singh, you have worked with a number of tech companies in this area. So perhaps in that order. And then Professor Dr. Rana, right? So perhaps in this order we can.
Quotes from this topic with the link for a large nationwide. And two, like we do it in multiple ways. One is we fund entrepreneurs and startups. So that funding ranges from let's say 50 lakh as an ignition grant, which is given at the ideation stage, to almost like 7 crores to a startup from fund of fund. And in between, there is also some provisions that is a matching grant where the startup or the industry wants to gain 3%. There is no cap in that manner. The funding is one. Then we also do the infrastructure support, which is the incubation centers. Those incubation centers are spread across the country. Also in tier 2, tier 3 research institutions like IIT, like some other institutions. So that R&D support and expertise is also available. Thirdly, we also create some opportunities where these startups and entrepreneurs can engage with the larger pool of stakeholders, including investors and young who are their friends and partners. Also, creating an awareness, providing them national platforms where they can launch the new product. Being a Government of India organization, we also are legal public-private partnerships where industries can partner, B2G collaborations can happen, B2S collaborations. So using all that bandwidth and also the policy support and policy advocacy. So a lot of startups and innovators who have got funding from us with good scale higher. As I was hearing one case study, it is good for all startups. If they get funding then we have to compete in the open space based on one country. We will see the return on investment. This particular space is more empathy driven and it's many more attached with innovation challenge, and there we have partnered with two players, one from the philanthropy side, data, and second was from industry, which is in we co-funded that program, and also we harnessed the power of bringing stakeholders together. So we supported 15 innovators in that manner. And out of 15, 13 were able to scale and take their products nationwide, and some also took it overseas. So I think some learnings were from that experiment we had, but I think this particular area requires special hand holding and the usual fundraising activity from non-government or non-dilutive funding would not work. The angels, VCs would have it to get a different hat when they are investing. So my personal impression is that philanthropy can come into play. Family offices support can be very helpful, where they can have patients and there's a patient capital. Some people who are closely associated with the sector by somebody in the family into play. Family offices support can be very helpful, where they can have patients and there's a patient capital. Some people who are closely associated with the sector by somebody in the family or some in the peers, or they are naturally driven towards it, having power to invest or having power to support. I think those could be the champions who can then take on the baton forward and take it towards the market and scale up. I think the baseline support is there from the government of India to various ministries and departments, SCPI or IITPP, EST, ICMR. So I think the base of the pyramid can get supported through that. Somebody has to pull it up. The forward pull could be like Reach, you're championing this cause. So we need more people from that bandwagon. Take it. I'll stop there.
Right. Thanks for this opportunity. And actually, I would have attended about hundreds of roundtable, but this is very unique because first time I'm seeing so many investors and the fund people who manage funds to be here. It's actually very heartening to see. So actually, if you really look at, it's also a challenge for all the people who want to invest. If you can actually pull this, you can pull anything in the world. Okay, because it's also there is a generally the assistive technologies are not market driven. It's not just based not only in India. We have studied now almost a dozen other countries, whether it's USA, UK, Australia, Canada. Ultimately, the government pays. So now the question is, can it still be made market driven? The answer is yes. There are many models to do that. So one of them is if government says here is a sustainable market for the products, then a lot of startups would come up and do that. But I think the government has to assure that market base, which is one model. I'm not saying that is the only model. A lot of people will still buy and do that. That's a first one. When we look at half a dozen products which we took it to people, we have close to more than 200,000 users. So we used a very different models for this. In one case, a charity came and said, in fact, we transfer the technology to industry, but industry won't manufacture because they don't consider it as a profit. So what the charity said is, we'll actually de-risk the, for example, we'll not only fund you, we'll fund the industry to actually invest in manufacturing. But I think, but then they have to probably price it very differently to make it affordable. So if we would have actually, when we transferred, we thought it will be sold at 15,000. But when the big fund came from Wellcome Trust, the product was made 3,500 and still company made a lot of profit, which is there. So that's one model that somebody has to take care of that, the one of the big valleys of debt, either government or a charity. If they can do, that is one model. The second model is we saw another product. We actually put it as instead of spinning off as a for profit, we made it as a not for profit startup. So that was also IIT Delhi's first not for profit startup. The idea is they are in the 8th year and doing very well, but they primarily leverage the CSR funds to do that. Now, how do? They actually go to the user. This is in education, go to schools and students, take their requirements, and then go to the CSR, raise the funds, manufacture the products and give it to the people. So that means the somebody who is actually trying to sell is also trying to raise the funds for users, which is a very different model. but it's working because we were able to reach out to at least 30,000 users through, which is another uh, route which is there. So that is one aspect which is more from the investor. But I think even from the entrepreneurial side, there is a lot of push which is needed. I think there have been a lot of discussions in last 5-6 years. We were also part of the first global assistive technology meet in Geneva in 2017, then second in 2019. Then we had a report in 2021, which actually came up. If you really look at, there are few things which are needed. One is the products which have made it to market are more universal. That means you're not just looking at particularly from the people from disabilities. One is elderly. So if you can bring elderly aspect, then it becomes very big. Or it could be even one. For example, one assistive technology which you don't have to drive is which most of us are wearing. I don't know. Can every assistive technology take that route? Possible. Why not? But how do you make it happen? At one time, it used to be a stigma to use, but now it's a fashion statement. And I think that's a cultural change which happened. And how do we do that is one of the major. Another thing which we have also seen is the products which can be used by not only, it's more universal, it's available to everyone. One of our startups is into wayfinding, where let's say you come to an STPI, want to go to first floor, it will actually give you a step-by-step route where you can reach without asking anybody's assistance. We actually primarily built it for blind, but I think it's used by everyone. The people who are literate, non-literate, everyone uses since it becomes this thing. Many of the hospitals and malls, though usage is not much by the people with disabilities, but it also solves a problem. So I think those are some of the very important, and I think I'll also go by, somebody mentioned about digital public infrastructure. There are a lot of digital assistive technologies which actually can take that route. And I think, I don't know, somewhere the government role is again very crucial when it comes to DPI. And we are at least looking at some of the things which digital public infrastructure can leverage basically to reach to a large number of people. But I think, yeah, it's a tough space, very exciting and interesting, doable space. Thank you.
We at ICMR we started like Dr. Pivia said that somewhere around 2016 and 17 when we worked with WHO on different aspects. So 2019, 2022 great report, we were part of that. So during this time, we have been able to create the standards with European standard, which now has come out as a 2-volume big book only on NL products. That's 31 products. So we are working on more. So then when we get some, requirement from somebody, we just sit with them and do the needful. So training module has been done by CHEP and innovations are done through NCAT centers at IIT and Delhi and IIT Madras and Vish Trivandrum and also through different other organizations where we have funded a lot of projects and now we are seeing the growth of assistive technology. And for the investors, I would say that we should be very clear the spectrum of assistive technology from where it starts and where it ends. Actually, like Shanti said that he is talking from the visual point of view or vision point of view. So there are around 7 domains which we talk always: locomotor or physical, disabilities or physical impairments, and then visual, hearing, cognition, and communication, where a lot of work is required, especially by the organizations like STPI, because digital solutions are very much important in these two areas. So then self-care, which is mostly seen among the older persons in the aging population, and we have around 12% of the population, and most of them they have this need. So the volume of people or the number of people who need assistive technology is huge. As per our estimate, it is one third of the population at any given point of time. And all of us, for 7 to 8 years, we are going to live with assistive technology in our lives. So this is the amount of product which is required, and only 5 to 10% people they have the access to, or they are able to procure or use it. And out of them also, the satisfaction level is very low because of the quality, because of lot of issues of accessibility across the domains, all of that. So once we know that the volume is there, and also through our survey, not through RATA survey, which is going across 25 centers in India, we have, as on today, we have collected that data of 1,20,000 people across all the 6 regions of India. So target is 1,80,000. So, which as per the best statistical methods, we would be able to calculate almost every part of the country what is the need for all these 6 or 7 domains. So we also talk about sports, recreation, leisure activity, or religious activities. So people, if they are not able to enjoy their life, so we cannot say that we have completed our job or we have done our job well. So we have been showcasing this need by Paralympic Committee. We have been dealing with them, and I always give that example that on the one hand we have 70 crore where they brought in 29 medals, and on the other side 700 crores and only 5 medals. That too, forgot what the goal was. So we have calculated the size of the market or the user need, and also the return on investments. So that part is again under now serious consideration because any the combined together 1:9. That is the return on investment. If we invest 1 rupee, we get 9 rupees back to the as a social gains. And for the spectacle, as like Sir said, it's 1:36. And for the sports, it's in lakhs. So that is the another project which we are doing now to calculate the return on investment by providing the assistive technologies to the players, para players. And like public health digital infrastructure, digital public infrastructure, we did a meeting on 3rd of July with the WHO and other stakeholder, and we have now charted out the roadmap how to integrate assistive technology to the digital public health infrastructure. That is through Ayushman and all those things, and also integrating them in the public procurement system, and then integrating the assistive technology at different level of healthcare systems. So these primary care, primary healthcare, secondary healthcare and tertiary healthcare and hospitals. So how do we integrate that? And the first part is already started with talking to the defense, the railways, the ESI, which are the largest consumer for the assistive product and actually providers also, and also CGHS. So the first today morning I got a information from defense that they are trying to reorganize all of the assistive technology. So spinal cord injury center, the artificial limb center in Pune, and also there is another chronic disease or some long-term care center there in Pune in Turkey. So they are going to reorganize all of them. They have asked my support in doing that. So we would be looking at huge investment from the defense side, and same thing we have already briefed to the DG Railway Health Services. He was very happy with the reorganization, and also the medical commissioner of ESI. She also came to our meeting, and she was very keen that let us sit together and do. So the kind of opening in this field is going to be very high, because once the assistive technologies get integrated into the health system, and you get today, even if I go and talk to the doctors in the hospital, they said we can write the spectacle, but we don't provide it. in our hospital or in any health sector. So that is the kind. And another project which we decided was a scheme under the Department of Health Research, which will be maybe we will be supporting medical colleges to take up this issue, and Salaj would be talking about the clinical validation lab and also National Health Research Priority Project, again, which starts with the state directorate level. So state way integrating into the state health system.
Thank you very much for that. And the amount of sports injuries that all our mainline players these days run into, I think some of those assistive technologies may not be just limited to the Paralympic athletes, but to the mainline athletes as well. Yeah, but Salaj, over to you.
Thank you, sir. So, in AIMS New Delhi, I will talk about only 3 points today that is relevant to the investors and as well as for the VCs. In a simple line, we help the startups or the fellows in our ecosystem to get themselves pitch ready in front of the investors. Simple. So there are 3 ways to understand that. One is the clinical validation. We have a earmarked budget of 30 lakhs per startup. Any of the startup in India can come to us and we will help the startup for clinical validation. This is the India's first clinical validation for assistive technology lab, which we have. We have more than 20 departments, clinical departments in AIMS New Delhi. Also, we have 5 other AIMS onboarded. That is AIMS Bibinagar, Bhopal, Kalyani, Jodhpur and Bathinda. One clinical innovation each we have assigned per year, but we will soon increase it to around 10 per year per center. So I think we more than 50 we can do clinical validation, 30 lakhs each. The second is the fellowship support and the incubation support. So we this is the incubator which we are running. We are right now having more than 14 innovations currently running and different TRL levels. So we give a salary of around 70,000 to the entrepreneur. We select from at least we receive entry around 500 entries per year, and we select around 10 from them. And those are mainly a background of mechanical, electrical, and design background. And we connect them to the medical fraternity in our AIMS New Delhi for the clinical immersion part. First, identify the main clinical need, get that particular need assessed by the experts like you, like any other organization which we can invite. Then the industry exposure, then the pre-investor exposure. We tend to have an NDA signed with the investor, like Step Up Ventures is one of the partner with us. So a pre-investor round to understand the market first, not directly you just go for the prototype. And then once that is finalized, we tell them to finalize a prototype, go for. Now, whenever you are on TRL level 7, whenever you are ready for the market, we get them self-validated in 6 months. We try to get the ethical approval and everything. This is all a very ethical point of view. We do that. And once it is validated, we tell them, now you can go, start your company, make your company, go in the market and meet the investors wherever you can. The third thing which we do very rigorously is the literature part. So whenever a random person who wants to start a company in the assistive technology domain, so they lack literature in the ecosystem, particularly in the Scopus Index journals, PubMeds, market reviews. There are many less reports which, if I want to search something, I will directly go to Google or some Scopus PubMed journals that this is the thing I want to find, the unmet need, and nothing is there. Most 67% of the literature is only on the locomotor side. Other sectors are not there. So we try to get the literature, we try to get the published article in various of many journals like Sage. Right now we are also publishing something in Lancet, WHO Bulletin. So our research team is there, around 5 people. We try to do that. So, and we feel that we also talk with many of the VCs and the investors in the market. We feel that conversion of getting themselves funded is very low, either high equity or a debt, or they have intended to when you have your first sale, then come back to us. So that is the challenge which we feel.
and we are working on it how to get themselves more clinically validated. And when we started clinical validation last year, so most of the startups came to us when already they are into some market, already they have converted some sales, but they're coming back to us for clinical validation because the next round VC has demanded it. Because they've identified that area that you haven't done your clinical validation and you're still in the market and you're selling it. Now they came back to us, sir, we have to go for clinical validation. So that is the three areas which we do, and under the leadership of ICMR, we are very grateful that whatever incubation startups we are making, ICMR full licensing of that IPR is there, and there is 0% royalty, which ICMR is the guidelines is there for assistive technology at least for 3 years. Nothing they are demanding, everything they are supporting, and we are very grateful. At least we have a target of more than 20 to 25 innovations or startups. We will push them to the market by different VC circles or a CSR or a brand activity that we do right now.
Wonderful. So, essentially what I'm hearing from all four of you is that, the incubation part, the testing part, the ability to set standards, to do the validation and all of that, we are now addressing all of those sort of issues. And so some of the basic building blocks of the TRL, whatever, 4, 5, 6 levels, till I would say 7, are today in place so that you can actually take it to the market. I've got a request that Ketan Kothari, who is online, wants to say something. Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, because today I firstly joined late and I'll have to rush due to guests that we had. I have a couple of points to make. I'm not going to make it very long. First and foremost, as has been discussed time and
Ketan, can you give a brief intro about yourself?
Sorry. I am Ketan Kothari, representing the Xavier's Resource Center for Visually Challenged. We are a department of St. Xavier's College in Mumbai, one of the oldest colleges in the country. And we are one of the largest technology hub here for all disabilities. And although the name suggests visually challenged, we work for all disabilities as are recognized by the law. Now, coming to my submission, I'd like to say just 2-3 things, quick things, that the technology that gets developed, assistive technology that gets developed for many disabilities is today imported or adapted from abroad, and very little is being done in terms of indigenization, which is absolutely need of the hour. I mean, even if I were to talk about the blind today, the Gujarati language has no text to speech on Apple devices or even on Windows, except maybe here to speak a very small initiative that has been undertaken. Uh, it's a shameful thing that one of Odia also, I believe, has no text to speech, so people can't read their regional material the way they would like. That being the case, so the investors must promote and invest in those startups that are doing R&D for indigenizing our the assistive technology for all disabilities. Secondly, attempts will have to be made to manufacture mainstream items in a way that would also assist people with disabilities as assistive devices, because the sustainability of specialized devices or specialized technology becomes very difficult and turns out to be costly. So if we can ensure that mainstream items can become assistive technology in the sense that they are built in such a way that they become assistive technology, it would be of great benefit to all the disabilities as far as is possible. And the last thing that I want to say, and this specific request, I think Professor Bala did allude to this, and probably Professor Rao did allude to this, and I'll probably want to know a little more about it offline. We need, uh, uh, especially the blind, need the help for internal navigation. As of today, there are very limited options available for us, almost nil, that are inexpensive and easily usable across the board. So if that is possible, I think that would be the best thing that can happen for people like us, especially when you are in a rural area or unknown place. If there are ways to navigate yourself internally, indoors, I mean, sorry, it will really help in a big way. And investors should encourage technology that is, very costly abroad, but frankly can be built in India. If that can be done, I think our job would become much easier and would benefit more of us in the coming days to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Uh, Now, may I open the floor to, there are a number of representatives of the investing community here. So who would like to, would you take the lead, Raja?
Attending this one. And I'll frankly say, among the VCP community, the understanding is very low. Yes, we do have certain impact funds, but majority of the funds are set up with the prime objective. They have a fiduciary responsibility to generate money for the investor. So they are investing into opportunities which are making returns. And today, the investor who's investing in unlisted is also looking at double digits and higher double digits returns. Having said that, some of the challenges which I am trying to see right now is actually, yes, we all said it's a great market, it's a big market. Is there actually a TAM which is available on this? Right. So for us to understand it, what are the different segments in this? So, I mean, it's very necessary that the TAM is there. Understanding whether this is investable under product or technology, that's another policy related discussion which needs to take place to be clearly defined how this has to be treated. To me, also the important elements, and thank you. I mean, we didn't know about AIMS, and this is fantastic what's being done, and so is St. Xavier's doing some of this. So clearly, the visibility as far as we see is not there for us. So again, we rely on pipelines, and the pipeline comes to us through incubation setups. More incubation setups, more startups start to build. Rightly said, 90% of these products are still imported. Right, so clearly a mandate to manufacture in India requires, that's where the VCs probably do not really jump in at this point of time. It is something which is looked at, the grant which is coming up from the government, or certain funds which are very specific, which are set up, and then probably, there is a portion which we as VCs come in and put in as well. I mean, take the example of SIDBI fund of funds. 6 years ago, it was a storyline where nobody believed in it. The government gave a 10,000 crore to SIDBI fund of funds to be invested into fund managers who will further invest into the ecosystem. Today, the fund stands at nearly 90,000 crores. So, I mean, that's nice, and they're getting another $1 billion. Yes, the DATI, the Can Bank Ventures, DATI METI was one of the first, EDF fund, which was set up. Again, few challenges we see in this space as when we jump in is distribution, right? Adoptability. There was a mention about tier 2, tier 3 cities. Certainly, we love tier 3 cities as well, because the cost for us to invest over there is far lesser. The valuations are much better, and actually, so for us, the end game becomes much better. So, where we can go for this?
Third, CSR money. I mean, is there a way where a CSR money can also be put into this? I heard one or two cases which were mentioned across. Um, if that can kind of have a sink in with us, will be very good. You know, today there are multiple options, both equity and debt. So people, startups who do not want to take equity, they're venture debt. There are plenty of VC funds or venture, private credit, venture debt. Is the growth is phenomenal at this point of time. So I think we should take, it's like maybe a two-way street that we make you understand what we invested, and probably you make us understand, what are the investable areas. And rightly said that if you're doing the clinical trials, lovely, fantastic. Sir, if people are looking at indoor navigation, people have built this. There were sticks which were there, which actually would, if you deviate, and I've been in the navigation world for quite some time. So we've done this. While the indoor technology was primarily used for us, but yeah, why can't it be extended? Your car systems today, they all stop at certain distances. It's about judging what's the obstruction, your lane driving, all those technologies, where can find built at 80 maybe and finds a way into the real world or the different world, which is where, the adoption it will be more, can be built in together. So very good that we came, and I've passed it to some of my investor colleagues as well, because we are only running an association, so we don't put in money, but we want to enable them that this ecosystem should be grown, and money we put in where it is required.
Maybe I'll just piggyback of the couple of points that you made. So I think we're looking at obviously the equity investing market and the debt investing market, but I think as blended finance, and that's where impact investing also started. So I'm wearing two hats today. One is Asha Impact, which is a fund set up by Pramod Bhutin and Vikram Gandhi. The other is the blended finance company. So impact investing also came up. I mean, now it's not a new term anymore, but sort of in the middle to say we're not compromising on returns, but we will also look at impact intentionally. And that's also what blended finance today is trying to do, is to say if equity and say venture debt today is not ready, is there a middle path, right? So it doesn't have to be two ends of the barbell where you're all only looking at returns or you're only looking at impact through, say, grants, etc. So we're sort of sitting in the middle, which I think is a very unique position and could work very well for a space like this, which, as Rajat rightly pointed out, probably is maybe not ready for commercial investment. Some of the startups, of course, are, but I think for some of them might need a longer runway, because the gestation period to show that this technology actually works, there's clinical trials involved, all of that. What blended finance really does is it uses philanthropic capital catalytically and could allow for this kind of extended runway for startups who are innovating for this space, right? So to give you an example, one of the startups talked about accessing debt. Now, if debt is hard to come by or its affordability is a challenge, that is where philanthropic capital coming from CSR or from domestic philanthropy, foreign philanthropy, could be used as guarantee to actually allow for debt to come in. We could also think of a impact-linked fund for startups like yourselves to say we start out with grant investments for those of you who need certain impact investments. We could facilitate equity investments at a later stage as well, and that's where I think a lot of the even pre-seed or other investors could come in. So blended finance allows for that, sort of impact investing to come in, and I'm using that word sort of loosely, but gives us a bit of that runway. It is a fairly large market today in India. There's almost over $1 billion that is flowing in across sectors, and there would be a lot of interested funders, bilateral agencies, UN agencies that would be interested in this space. But I think, as Rajati rightly pointed out, it is an awareness issue. Today, Shraddha and I also came here more from a learning perspective to say, okay, what does the community really look like? Who are the investors who are interested? Who are the funders who are interested? And is there something really that we can do to bring all of them together to bring in more capital for a space like that? So that's what we do.
it's almost like an investment bank for the social sector to raise philanthropic capital. And I think Sir's left, but he was talking about leverage in terms of FROI. But that's how we measure, the work being done in blended finance as well as one philanthropic, dollar or rupee, how much of commercial capital can that actually bring in as well? In a lot of our programs, that leverage looks anywhere between 15 to 20x. We've done this, in skilling, in healthcare. We're working with, tier one, tier two, tier three hospitals as well, other sectors, and we would love to, collaborate with all of you to see if there is a work to do.
Sure, I think good point that we should look at blended financing schemes and so on as a way ahead.
But we're just looking at, on the climate side, we've all gone towards blended financing.
Right. So somebody online from Step Up wants to say something. So can you unmute yourself and?
I think I took a few minutes extra earlier because of the passion flowing in for something like this happening. I'm so glad that this is as an issue being understood, not only being understood, but being actioned out. And so many people representing not only from the government side, public side, but also from the private side as VCs. I've put down some thoughts. At the core of those thoughts, I'm as a user, as somebody who would probably use technology at home, from the side of an incubator accelerator, from the side of a VC. I think at core, at large, India requires assistive tech devices at large because we are one of the biggest populations, and I cannot even talk about as a population how many users we have that would want to be the user base for such solutions. Now, what is the hindrance here? The hindrance is, of course, affordability, and I think inclusivity, affordability, and everything has been spoken about. While all of that has been spoken about, few things that can probably come handy for making it more accepted. And once it is more accepted, it becomes more investable. I think Rajat has covered most of the points, and the other colleagues have also covered most of the points. I think from a government standpoint, if we can think about some tax incentives and GST relief for products in the space of assistive tech, that could help cut down the cost significantly and help with the implementation of such technologies at large. Again, which makes these companies, it becomes more lucrative for the companies, and again, from a revenue standpoint, for a VC to invest. Could there be a grant to investor bridge that we can build as a body together? Today, Niti has a program where they do matching investment. Can we do that in the assistive tech space? Doubling down what AIMS is already doing with what Dr. Salaj is undertaking as an incubator, can we do more of that in the physical space? I think STP is already trying to do that. And maybe an interesting avenue could also be pushing IRDAI from a policy perspective to cover the assistive tech devices and solutions under the insurance coverages of these patients. At the end, at the core, if we can create an ecosystem where we've got the government, the VCs, and the startups all together working towards affordability and the solutions being used at large, I think that is where the innovation at core happens. So those are some of my pointers which I wanted to put across. I think most of them have already been covered at large through the wisdom in the room. But representing Step Up Ventures, I'm glad to say we are here to support everybody who's in this room from a startup perspective, VC perspective, to build a bridge and offer ourselves to handle many founders in this space and a solution at large. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you very much, Raja. And I think I'm glad that you brought this point out about insurance. So for the investors, let me just update you on this particular thing. Till 3 or 4 years back, there was no insurance which was available for the disabled. Okay. Even today, the insurance schemes which are there are so bad schemes that bulk of the things that can happen to you are actually excluded from that, and that is why the sector has been demanding that more and more coverage of should come under insurance so that this can be addressed. Yeah, sorry, you had started saying something when
No, so I was just mentioning a couple of points from the whole investor perspective. So 2 points mainly. One is about the market. So all of us have mentioned that the market for assistive technology is very huge. And there's no 2 points about it. If let's say even 20% of the world population is disabled and they have a certain purchasing power, that brings us to close to about a 15 trillion purchasing power for this market. However, the problem is that there are 21 disabilities which are recognized in the country. When we looked at about 40 odd startups, what we realized is each of those startups was looking at a very specific problem within each disability. So everybody is essentially working in silos. So the time for any startup to get investment is very, very low. And that's when we realized that the idea needs to become a little more mainstream. So imagine an elevator. All of us came to the first floor mostly using an elevator. But if there was a sign outside that elevator saying only for the disabled, most of us would not have used that. But today, cities like Mumbai are running on elevators. Think of an Audible or a podcast that I listened to on my way here. If originally it was only marketed for people who could not read a book, then products like those would not have become mainstream. So, having something as simple as a text to speech or a voice to text, which is marketed differently so that the TAM becomes a lot more bigger, is essentially going to help all of these startups become what a Lenskart essentially has become now. It's no longer a fashion, it's not no longer an assistive technology device, it is a fashion accessory. Uh, as I mentioned, wearing a spectacle may not be a taboo today, but wearing a hearing aid is. So, most of us wear an AirPod about 60% of the day. If somebody would have only thought to make a hearing aid in the form of an AirPod, I don't think people would have had a problem putting it in their ear. So we need to think of markets in that sort of a way, and I think then the marketing problem would be solved. That's one. Second, as ma'am mentioned, of course, blended finance is an option, but we also need to structure the way the investment is made into the startup a little bit better. So let's say today a new motion may not need investor funding, but the consumer of a new motion may need that kind of funding. So how can we bring together CGTMSC or bank guarantees into that structure? So investor money can be leveraged, but at the same time, it's structured a little more innovative. So those are my two.
There's been a lot of talk about debt. So, Aniket, so of course, I know you are looking at the.
Sadly, I'm not part of that.
You're not part of that, but still.
No, so I'll come with two perspectives, right? One with whatever limited experience I have as a founder, and the other one, whatever limited, even more limited experience that I have from an investor perspective. So one thing that all of us like is a larger market. And what comes with a larger market, or rather what's required for a larger market, is an understanding of who the buyer is. Right? As Vivian sir said, Vivian Rao sir said, the majority of the countries, government is the buyer. Right? So what that gives us is a lot of comfort to somebody who's building, a lot of comfort to somebody who's backing the builder, as to that there exists somebody who is willing to buy the product. The moment that part of the equation or that part of the entire value chain is sorted, I don't think there's going to be any investor who's going to say that we don't want to back this particular item. Right? It's something that we have seen in defense as well. There's a single buyer for defense products in the country, which is the government. The moment that buyer had clarity, everybody started backing. Essentially, as a founder, as somebody, if I'm building something, it would be much easier for me to know that, okay, what I'm building is valuable from a tech perspective, from a product quality perspective. But I also know who the buyer is. I know that, okay, if there are 100,000 people who would, let's say, be the audience for my product, would get access to the technology, or they would be able to buy. And as an investor, backing that entrepreneur, it becomes even more comfortable for me saying that, yes, I know that this technology is going to change the world, or rather, this technology is going to impact that particular segment in a very good way. And there is money which is lying there to make that technology accessible there. Could come in the form of affordability, could come in the form of it's a blended finance, both from an investment and from a buyer perspective. But yeah, that's as Rajat sir said, right? We like pipelines a lot, and we like structures even better, because that gives us clarity of thought, and that gives us a lot of underwriting. Engaging your analysis.
Sorry. I was just saying the assistive technology, I think government is the still largest buyer of assistive technology. But the only issue is in defense you don't compromise. But I think that is where I think three aspects, the quality standards and regulation has to be an extremely important. Otherwise, there are a lot of distribution which happens, but actually not adding a value to it, which is there. So I think that it's possible, but I think you need to have
I
this.
think quality standards are coming in with.
No, but it has to be consistent in the public procurements. I'll give you your time in a little while. Okay. So Sumit just wanted to mention one thing. If you actually divide the market, there is one market where there is a set of disabled people who can afford it. Okay, so privileged backgrounds, families, and so on, and therefore the budgets are available. And most of them are actually going in for imported stuff. And there is very little Indian stuff which is available. The next is another extreme, which is where it is the government which is the buyer, and as far as that particular market is concerned, they have a sense of entitlement. Okay, so they feel that this wheelchair should be given to me, right? Because I am disabled and therefore I should get it free. So therefore, these are the two tiers as far as the market is concerned.
For sure.
And just coming to your point about dual technologies, there are, I agree, number of actually Siri, etc., are some of the products which have actually come out of work which was going on for disabled, right? So from there they became mainstream, and actually the mainstream usage is far bigger. A 10-minute delivery and ordering anywhere was more of a benefit to a person with disability rather than a person who would actually walk up to the store, right? But unfortunately, it didn't emerge from the disabled sector.
So that's the point. It shouldn't.
So
It shouldn't.
So just wanted. Yeah, sorry, you were saying
I was just saying, there is always two different buyer persona, right? One, a person who can afford practically anything that exists in the world from a assistive technology perspective, and then the other person who needs that help or that nudge or that economic support in order to kind of afford the product. And that's where I think, the dual use case that you mentioned and the geriatric use cases as well, they come into play because again, for the lack of, even for the sake of repetition, market becomes clearer.
Right.
And it gives a lot more comfort to us as investors to come in and then say that okay, this is something that can go.
Ashish, you wanted to say something.
I think my points are mostly covered by them. So yeah, I pretty much agree with dual use technology. Even while talking about your defense example, even while funding defense tech startup, we also look for dual technologies. And that's because we always want to de-risk our investment as such as possible. When we are looking at only one specific set of buyer, then we are taking much higher anticipated risk due to customer concentration. And by diversifying to a broader set of customer segments, we are able to de-risk it in our mind. So that basically, and as already been covered, that dual use of technology or coming to the mainstream would basically make it much more amenable to invest in by private investors.
Okay, I now come to yeah. That's what I'm coming to exactly. So there are three startups here which were actually supported by NCPEDP. All right. The thing that I talked about, the Mphasis funding that came in, 75 lakhs was made available to 16 different startups. There are three of them who are present here today. So I would request them to just talk briefly about your product, your experience, and also what are your challenges.
Hello everyone, my name is Julika Trisal. I lead a company called Cognity. So we're building software infrastructure for institutions that cater to children with intellectual and neurodevelopmental disabilities like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, intellectual disability. So I was very lucky to be funded by the Mphasis ATC grant by NCPEDP and the Global Disability Innovation Hub. in October last year. And it's been a great journey so far. I mean, this money was very important for us to build our product fundamentally, come to an enterprise grade MVP where private schools are using us and are ready to pay us for it. And governments are actually interested in talking to us finally. Where, like, I sat down yesterday with the government of Telangana, folks from the government of Telangana, who were super excited about building a data exchange, an assistive technology data exchange for the state. And they offer to pilot that project with us, like using the neurodevelopmental disability data points and building a potential database for the state. So definitely there's a lot of excitement that is around the space. Public sector is very excited, but the biggest problem for us is the GTM health scale. We are one founder is selling a product in 5 different ways to 10 power centers. And मतलब प्राइवेट स्कूल को एक डिफरेंट तरह का चीज सुनना है. Government wants to listen to the compliance, the optics that are involved, and like regulation is what government likes. Private school wants to listen to kitna cost hai, how much time can you save for our teachers, which is great. And CSR has an ROI per beneficiary, so you have to learn to speak 5 different languages to sell one product. And वहाँ पे by the time थोड़ा capital मिल भी जाए, so initially what really happens जब capital दिया जाता है to an early stage startup, the expectation is build your product. We build our product, we sell it. Sales cycle is so long. वो runway कहाँ से cover करेंगे? Like, and whenever we go to an investor, we tell them that B2G is a viable revenue source for a company like ours, but they all get public sector bias. They take a lot of time, 9 months sales cycle, कौन करेगा? Payment delays, who's going to handle? And as all of you just said, government is the largest buyer, and given that we are in an AI game over here, we need data. We need a lot of it. So public sector is one of the biggest data sources for us. So I think balancing, runway along with the sales cycle and product competence is something very important. The other thing is that we are in the special education market. That is very unregulated. कई बार a lot of people say that regulation is the problem. The lack of regulation is actually the problem here. तो मतलब I build an IB, मुझे हर स्टेट के हिसाब से एक अलग, Andhra is following very different IB formats, Kerala is following very different, Telangana is, but these are the state systems I am aware of. So what is the uniform thing? What is something the startup should build for कि एक product can apply to everyone? I think that is a bigger challenge, but honestly this conversation is filling me up with a lot of optimism, and I would love to interact with everyone here and understand the way forward.
So, correction, I mentioned that there are 3 of the funded companies which are online or physically present. Actually, it's 5 of them, right? So, very quickly, Wheelies, would you like to? Oh, you're here. All right.
Hi, my name is Mphasis. I'm from Mphasis Solutions. So basically हम लोगों का काम बहुत सिंपल है कि हम लोग फीचर यूजर्स के लिए अलग अलग असिस्टिव डिवाइसेस बनाते हैं. तो लकीली हम लोगों को अक्टूबर में ग्रांट मिल गया, तो हम लोगों ने इतना टाइम सस्टेन किया, प्रोडक्ट बना लिया, टेस्टिंग किया. बट एनसीपीटीपी में हमें इतना सारा सपोर्ट मिल पाया क्योंकि एनसीपीडीपी स्पेसिफिकली असिस्टिव टेक्नोलॉजी को बहुत ही अच्छे से डीप डाउन स्टार्टिंग से पूरे प्रॉब्लम को जानते थे. यहाँ पर जो मेंबर्स हैं उन्हें अच्छे से पता है कि क्या प्रॉब्लम होती है. बट जब यही ग्रांट हम लेने के लिए किसी दूसरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के पास जाते हैं तो सिंपली दे कंपेयर अस विद मल्टीपल कंपनीज जिनका प्रोडक्ट प्रैक्टिकली उतना रिलायबल नहीं है, और उनके प्राइस सेगमेंट एंड ये सारी चीजों से हमें कंपेयर किया जाता है. एंड इवन कस्टमर्स आर आल्सो कंपेयरिंग अस कि आपका प्रोडक्ट 60,000 का है, मुझे 50,000 में भी मिलता है, बट दे आर नॉट कंपेयरिंग द वैल्यू दैट वी आर प्रोवाइडिंग. सो एक प्रॉब्लम ये है. दूसरा प्रॉब्लम जो सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है जो अभी हम लोगों को फेस करना पड़ता है कि हम लोगों को लगा प्रोडक्ट बना लेते हैं, बहुत अच्छा रिफाइन करते हैं, फीचर्स दे देते हैं, बट जब हमने मार्केट में हिट किया हमें पता चला कि यूजर्स पे ही नहीं कर सकते. उसमें से एक बहुत बड़ा नंबर पे ही नहीं कर सकता है जब हमने प्रोडक्ट बना लिया. नाउ अब हम लोग अलग अलग फंडिंग ग्रुप्स एंड क्राउड फंडिंग एंड CSR एंड NGOs को पिच करते हैं, देन दे आर कंपेयरिंग अस विद सिमिलर कॉम्पिटिशंस जिनका प्रोडक्ट उतना वैल्यूएबल भी नहीं है। तो इसमें हमें, जैसे अभी राव सर ने एक बहुत अच्छी बात बोली थी कि डिफेंस में क्वालिटी कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं होता है, बट इस सेगमेंट के अंदर क्वालिटी बहुत कॉम्प्रोमाइज होता है जब हम स्पॉन्सरशिप्स और इसके ऊपर जाते हैं। अभी रिसेंटली मैंने एक स्पॉन्सर से बात करी तो उन्होंने सिंपली क्लेम कर दिया कि हम 30,000 से ज्यादा नहीं पे करेंगे क्योंकि इसमें इतना क्या कॉम्प्लेक्स है। उन्होंने कोर प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं समझा कि ठीक है मोबिलिटी में ईज हो रहा है यूजर को, बट इतना क्या मैटर करता है, वो 2-4 किलोमीटर ट्रैवल तो ठीक है वो चला जाएगा। बट यही चीज हम अभी, अवेयरनेस का बहुत ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम है। यूजर को भी अवेयरनेस के लिए बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि यूजर को भी लगता है कि 3 ही किलोमीटर तो है, मैं चला जाऊंगा या फिर कोई मेरे को असिस्ट कर देगा। और ये एक लार्ज सेगमेंट का प्रॉब्लम है। ये बहुत अच्छे से अभी हम लोग अवेयरनेस और ये सारी चीजें हो रही हैं, बट अभी भी Tier 1 Tier 2 इवन Tier 3 में सिटीज में भी ये सेम प्रॉब्लम है कि हमें यूजर से जब हम बात करते हैं तो दे आर नॉट रेडी टू पे कि इतना पे करके मुझे ईज मिलेगा सिर्फ। लेकिन प्रैक्टिकली जब, जैसे हमारे एक यूजर है सरवर अली, उन्होंने 10,000 किलोमीटर कंप्लीट कर लिए प्रोडक्ट के ऊपर एंड उनकी लाइफ ड्रास्टिकली चेंज हुई है। जो यूजर पहले इतना ज्यादा डिपेंड थे कि वो सीरियसली अपनी लाइफ को एंड करने की बात करते थे एंड वो अपनी फैमिली से इतना ज्यादा परेशान हो गए, तो वही प्रॉब्लम को अब हमने सॉल्व किया प्रोडक्ट देकर। एंड अगर अब उनसे हम 2 दिन के लिए प्रोडक्ट बोलते हैं कि हम रिपेयर के लिए या फिर टेस्टिंग के लिए यूज करना चाहते हैं, तो वो बिल्कुल बोलते हैं नहीं, आप मुझे दूसरा प्रोडक्ट दो। तो यूजर की लाइफ में बहुत ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट आता है, बट अवेयरनेस का एक बहुत प्रॉब्लम है इन्वेस्टर्स में, ग्रांट देने के लिए भी और यूजर्स में, तीनों बहुत ज्यादा यहाँ पर प्रॉब्लम है इसकी।
So, as was mentioned earlier, that we also as a sector need to make people aware of these things. So yeah, today is a start, but we need to make these things that it has to be looked at with different lenses. It has to be something where there can be actually an economic benefit, which can actually change the entire purchasing story, right? So yeah, we need to look at all those things. So thanks a lot. I have Dextrovare.
So I was saying that my heart is actually full listening to all the discussions happening around this. So NCPEDP has been a great support not only in terms of the grant that they adopt, but also in terms of awareness and advocacy they are doing for the disability sector. Now, another point that I want to raise. So there have been points touched upon that I was actually interested in. So there was a female sitting there who talked about getting philanthropy investment and getting it with the hospitals in tie-ups. So I have been trying to chase government and multiple hospitals and rehab centers to spread awareness about what kind of life people will witness once they have access to digital gadgets. Because it was not for long that I had to go through that phase, but that short while also was pretty torturous. And when I started connecting with the industry people, so I have been realizing that so the discussions are moving in the right direction, but I think it is still a long way to go. The government
I tell it to wherever I meet the representative of the government that they are still not doing enough. There is a lot of support that we as so I would clarify myself. I am a user of the device. The founder has not been able to come here, but I have been making attempt at my end to create awareness about it and let people know that how life can change. So I have interacted with a lot of people, spinal cord injured, people with muscular dystrophy. So I see the kind of life they live, and even an interaction. If they get a platform to interact with people, something like WhatsApp, where they have an access to have a device with them and interact with people within the community and outside as well. So it becomes very empowering. So I'm happy. I'm full of hope that this will go forward. And I would request you, since physical networking, even after being here, is difficult for me. So if you could just drop in your visiting cards. I have some of your numbers, but I would request rest of them. Thank you.
I am running out of time. So, True Assist and Grail Maker, if you have something to add, some new point, okay. So then perhaps Deepa, may I request you to give your impressions of the discussion, and then after that I would request Mr. Suvad Sachin to sort of sum up the discussion today and.
Pradeep, before that, can I just take 2 minutes? Rohit from KMTC.
Oh yeah, Rohit. Sorry, yeah, I did get the message that you wanted to say
Sorry.
something. Yeah, Rohit.
Yeah.
Please,
So
2
just
minutes.
quickly from the discussions I've heard, a lot of positive discussions, and we have moved many steps ahead from the discussions that we've had previously. So that's a positive sign. Would like to now point, some focus towards funneling more money into R&D. So again, in previous discussions, we brought up the parallel between medical devices and AT. Medical devices are also at a very pathetic state in this country. Most privileged people are able to afford imported devices, and most other people have to deal with whatever crap that they get. So again, one of the ways to improve that is to funnel more and more R&D, and this deep R&D has to happen in institutions funded mostly by the government and then maybe by big philanthropic agencies and others, because that's where the fundamental research happens. Now, there could be incubating clusters around these institutions that pick up some of these technologies and take them to market in specific use cases. Now, here your development cost, your risk, everything gets mitigated, and then you move forward into the commercialization phase where investors also see value and fewer valleys of death. Again, as Dr. Salaj pointed out, the clinical validation process is also in place, and for medical devices also that is being put in place. So that is improving the survival of these startups through the valleys of death towards investment. And then every piece, that is the grants and the risk-free grants that come in the beginning, then the angel investment that comes in, and then the VC funds, and then all of the debt and other formats which come in later, come in with at each stage appropriately. So with a structured approach like this, I think all of these technologies, all of these startups and entrepreneurs will have a way to reach to the market. The second point is about how do we create spaces for entrepreneurs with disability. Now, we've seen a lot of startups. We need more entrepreneurs with disability coming up and solving their own problems, because the persistence, the lived experiences, and the passion that they come with may not be the same as others. And therefore, can we ask these questions? Are these systems today, ready to handle entrepreneurs with disability as well? Are our incubation centers, our schemes, our portals, our mechanisms to solicit funding, are they all accessible to entrepreneurs with disability? These were the 2 points that I wanted to convey.
Thank you very much, Rohit, for bringing that point out. A very quick question. Does the RDI fund that has been announced, does that address this, or it does not have any mention of assistive technology?
I don't think it has any specific mention of AT.
But it doesn't restrict or any.
It doesn't restrict, yes.
But we can talk to Secretary DST and we can ensure that that particular fund is available for assistive technology.
Yes, and I think we should engage with ANRF as well. They have 10,000 crores now as corpus to funnel into R&D.
Yeah, sure. And I just wanted to make one more observation that out of the 16 companies that we did virtual incubation, I would think that about 1/3 of them are actually disabled entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Okay. So but it's a very valid point that you made. Yeah, over to you, Deep.
Thank you very much, Pradeep, for hosting this, moderating this, and Rohit. What you said is true, right? R&D. I think India as a country, we spend the least amount or invest the least amount of capital for R&D, be it anything for the social sector or even from a go-to-market perspective. We're very happy to kind of either recreate something or to be able to scale something, right? But R&D, I completely agree, is something that we definitely need. Part of this R&D is something that you yourself are investing in bringing about in your organization, or you have the IIT Madras incubating Neo here, right? And they have come out of their incubation lab, which is a classic example of how you could partner with somebody who already has the investment, and they also have the entire ecosystem to be able to support. To give you a classic example, we work with Ashoka University, Plaksha University. These students are hungry for applicable problems that they can solve for. So please do reach out to us if there is anything we can take back to any of the universities that we work with globally, or even if it is a technology that we can work with along with you to be able to take this to market. You're not alone in this. Right from hiring, training to be able to deploy, organizations like Mphasis are happy. Unless you ask, we won't know. Right? So the ask that I would like to leave you with is, wherever there is a need for any kind of assistive technology, please bubble that up and bring that to somebody's notice. Otherwise, it's going to be the world's best kept secret. It's almost like the numbers that NCPEDP had figured, right? Working with Microsoft on the missing millions. We don't even know how many people have what sort of disability as data points or chart in India, and they seem to be constantly missing from real-time data as well as from primary data sources, right? So if you don't ask, we won't know. If you don't tell your story, we won't know. So please both ask and tell. Thank you.
So Deepa, I hope the new census which is now going on actually brings a lot more data points, because we've been talking regularly with them to ensure that the data on disability is captured. But thanks for that, and you've been a huge support. You are the
Very happy to.
which has been absolutely there as far as the disability movement is concerned. Before I come to Subodhji, I have one request of Rajat. Can you just sort of suggest 2 or 3 next steps that we should take, so that we don't drop this discussion here, but we keep it alive in some form or the other?
Yeah, there's no way this ball can be dropped. So it's good that the momentum is taking. So I look at it 2 sides, maybe 3. The one side is the startups, So certainly we need to figure out what do the startups need, right? Really, priority A, B, and C. Whether it's so we can do deep dive into something like that. Secondly, is the other side which says investor. What is the investor looking at? So if there's certain researches which can be done, right? So maybe it's your expectations from the startups, and the startups kind of putting together saying, look, here's the market. So some kind of that data has to be very important, right? So if there's a knowledge partner which needs to be engaged to put together research onto this, and stitching this again is the ecosystem, whether it's the incubation setups which we are putting across, whether it's the IITs which are building up certain things, whether it's STPIs or the government, whoever has to take part into this to get this motion rolling, somebody has to buy this. I mean, somebody has to take it. If I hear the startups, right, every state she has to go separately, right? That's not what our startup wants. It says one shop. My job is to build that product. Others, please take it forward for me. So usually something like that. But again, that's a wishful thinking. But I think if the three machineries get together, the startups, the investors, and the ecosystem builders, around that, if we can put together something, yeah, and some of these sessions can take place, whether it's Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, wherever it makes sense. We certainly need money for this ecosystem, and we can always not rely on the government. I mean, we always can't knock on the government door all the time. I think we need to get active ourselves. Mphasis is doing great. So, 4 or 5 more such folks, if they get together, Asha Impact, I know does fantastic as well on some of these elements. So if they all get together, I'm sure the story can be built here itself.
We already discussed one example with Ames as the pre-validation capacity. Similarly, there are more in number where the pre-validations can happen. So my suggestion is that if through this group you can make a policy push that each incubator at least handles 1 to 3 assistive technology solutions in 1 year. So you have a pipeline, large pool of such entrepreneur startups in the country. Second, from the large VC houses, large VC funds, if we again make this request, I think you have that power to nudge some people that within a year make one investment in the assistive technology. At least some of them will have more market, more clarity might get. I think that way, I think you can create a value proposition. And third, through this forum, if you can bring together all the assistive technology solutions under one umbrella as a dashboard or showcase
Platform.
Yeah, platform. Many people will converge.
Thank you very much for all of those suggestions. There is one of the things that you said, which I think Rajat earlier alluded to, that they are ultimately answerable to their LPs. Okay, and therefore they can't impose a condition on themselves that at least one investment should be done in assistive technology.
They can force an investment. They can talk much in education so that they can out for.
But yeah, so we need to create the pipeline, because that is also one message which came clearly, that if we can look at a pipeline and define what the market is, and look at dual uses of that technology, and then de-risk that entire thing and then present it to the VCs, then in today's framework, that is what will, until unless we talk of new frameworks. But in existing frameworks, that is the perfect. Yeah, you have the last word.
Thank you, Pradeep. And
By the way, I should sort of mention, because you were not here at the beginning, but the role that STPI has played in this entire assistive technology hub, I shared that with the entire group. So thank you very much for that. PG unfortunately is not here, but he's always been supportive of this cause. And we very soon look forward to having the assistive technology physical hub in place. Yeah.
Thank you, PG and Deep, and thanks for everyone who have come today on this particular topic of the way we wanted. I think when we started discussion with PG and then with Asifa and NCPEDP, that what do you really want to achieve? The first roundtable happened in Bangalore, and what do you want to achieve here? There were certain things which we wanted to set out. I think the idea was just to understand both the challenges from the startup perspective and investors perspective, and from the ecosystem, as I think rightly put by you in terms of what are the next steps, right? And what I can see, because on ET Hub or ET perspective, STPI wants to play STPI, because we're doing a lot of startup ecosystem support, but we are still not being able to be very effective in the AT space, right? We have tried a lot, and I think last couple of years we've been brainstorming. But the challenges which probably are being faced by startups and investors are the same challenges faced by the ecosystem players like us, right? How do we enable this particular whole AT Hub ecosystem? Who will fund that? How do we create the meaningful impact and want to create the impact with respect to adoption of devices, right? I think from that angle, this deliberation which started with from how do we convert from a design to delivery perspective of the products, or from innovation to adoption perspective of the innovative solutions are happening. But this deliberations is going to help into that. And I think all of you guys have contributed a lot in terms of not just about what should be actionable strategies, but the dilemma which is there both in the startup ecosystem and the investors ecosystem, right? Dilemma with respect to the need for patient capital and the capital which is available, right? How do we bridge the gap there? Whether it is going to be the LP driven ecosystem, or whether there is I think somebody talked about philanthropy capital becomes the cap 20x of that can be added into the funding ecosystem if there's a philanthropy capital which is coming in, so that this mindset can be there from the investor side. This is an ecosystem which requires a patient capital. This ecosystem requires not just the maximization of the returns of profitability, or as a fiduciary role from investors and LP perspective, but also from the social impact perspective. The problem which we are sitting, I think that's the reason why STPI is involved, because when you talk about the whole accessibility landscape, right? I mean, there are more than probably 1 billion people across the world, right? And India has still a problem because we still import a lot of these devices. This cannot be solved unless there is huge innovation happening. And I have interacted earlier with over VC with Professor Rao, and I think with ICMR also. And a lot of things are happening in the ecosystem, but still not been able to create the scale and the impact. And that's where the vision of AT Hub comes into play. So whatever deliberations have happened today, whether it is right from the fact that investor requires product market fit, investor requires scalability. What startups are looking forward is how do I create impact? How do we create how do I get users, right? So I think this deliberation is actually going to help a lot, because in the AT Hub which we have envisioned, NCPEDP plays that role of users insight and bringing the user for adoption, right? That's the role of NCPEDP. And from the fact that what STPI can do is the incubation, from the ecosystem perspective. And what we need further is the investor, the capital which can fund, not just investor capital, the capital which can fund this whole ecosystem, moving forward of the ecosystem, right? So I think I'm pretty happy to see, sir, and I think whatever deliberations happened, whether it is, I'm sure some startups will say, hey, good thing, dual usage has come out here, but is it possible? Does it impact? Does it bring that impact of what we want? Does it cover all the users which are available, which are people who need solutions? Probably no, right? So that's a dilemma, which we have to find the solution with, because there's investor dilemma, there is a startup dilemma, there is user dilemma. I think, and this forum has been able to bring out our dilemmas forward. And once the dilemmas are there, I think then only solutions can be got on. Actionable strategies or whatever we want to do will come forward. What I can really say that within the 80 first physical hub which we're going to do, and what vision we have set out, I know it's almost 2 years we have been discussing things, and good to see virtual AT Hub started at least, right? And thanks to Mphasis and thanks to NCPEDP for doing that. But once we bring the physical hubs, the element of research, which the group brought about, the academic linkages, right? This is something which we have already thought and which we have already been able to structure it right now, whether it is triple IIT Prayagraj or whether it is IIT Delhi. Earlier we had discussion, or with IIT BHU, right? The linkages for the academia to the research can really happen, and then the translational research can happen through startups. And innovation can be adopted by the user base, which NCPEDP and the people on the ground can bring in. I think that's all we want to do in AT Hub. So when we take forward the views which have been expressed here, a lot of dilemmas will be answered. So once again, I really thank all of you guys to come. NSTP, I would like to host this, sir, whenever there's requirement. We'll always be ready to host such discussions and deliberations, not just in the AT but any other topics as well. But this group, I think I'm really thank you. And DG is not here, but at least he was also wanted to convey this message that whatever and the group as a group, whatever thoughts have come forward, we would like to convert them into actionable strategies as soon as possible. Today, the reason I was late because we're sitting in ministry for the meeting, and one of the topic was AT Hub. How do we accelerate the AT? What happened to the proposal? Why it is not moving forward? Who is not funding it? Right? Why there's no fund? Being enabled by certain state governments, right? So that's a dilemma. As I said, dilemma which you have from investor side, from startup side, is a dilemma from the ecosystem players like us also, because we also don't fund everything which we do. Right? We also get collaborative funding model to do something. So thank you once again, and thank you PG Sir, and thank you everyone. Looking forward for whatever next round over whenever it happens. I think UD awards are around the corner, right?
Yeah. So in your material there is this invite. So NCPEDP was the first organization which actually started talking about universal design 16 years back. So this is the 16th edition. Wow. And again, Mphasis was kind enough to support this particular program as well. And so for the last 16 years, we've been actually recognizing companies that come out with products and services, individuals and organizations which come out with the universal design products and services. And that event is there on 14th of August, 11 o'clock onwards at Taj Ambassador. So all of you are invited.
I've been in one of those programs, and let me tell you, it's actually very enriching to see the work which is happening pan India. And NCPEDP does a great job in bringing that out in the form of giving awards, right? I think this time I was part of the jury with a lot of people. I could not spend full time, but again, very good applications, very good applications. So whoever gets a recognition from that particular platform is, I'm sure they are doing. We can definitely vouch they are doing a great work, and they've been doing great work for a very long time, and that's why they deserve to be awarded. So do not miss that award. Do not miss that session, because it also helps you to understand what does it actually have to represent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.